I was talking to someone not that long ago about a scenario where the developer was trying to sell an access lot, and they were like, well, it's never been used. It was only meant to comply with the ordinances. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. I'm Tiffany Weber, real estate attorney in North Carolina with Thomas & Weber, and I'm joined by my fellow attorney, Megan Anderson. Welcome back.
Hi. It's good to be here.
What are we talking about today?
I think it's going to be access lots.
Yeah, we've got, we're sometimes called Law at the Lake. It was our tagline, and now sometimes people just think that's our firm name.
Yeah.
But being at the lake, we see a lot of these.
They are very, very common. And some communities don't even know they have access lots, deem them access lots. They just think that, we have a community beach.
Yep.
Or we have a community boat area. We have a community boat ramp, or, anything that is it's just community, but they're actually called access lots to said body of water.
The best is when they were never used.
Oh, yes.
And somebody just thinks they own it. Actually, the whole community can use it.
Yes.
So you've hit on some of the examples of community amenities or community things that could be considered access lots. Why do these exist? Like, why would someone do this when they're developing?
To make the area, other lots, more valuable, to, create incentives for people to actually want to move in there, but not pay to be on the lake. But therefore, if, they have access to the lake, makes them just more desirable for, inland folks in their property.
Yeah. I mean, your neighborhood,
yes,
I think, is a good example of access to the water, but many, many homes in the neighborhood not being on the water. Boat slips,
right.
It's a big draw for your neighborhood. The same thing in like the point here. Those homes are extremely expensive. They could be $3 million not on the water.
Right.
But you can guarantee they've got a boat slip.
Oh, yeah.
So that means there is some area of land in which a pier and docks are being built off of so that they can be shared. But that means the land is owned by somebody.
Right.
Most often the HOA. But this is where it gets tricky because in the beginning,
yes,
it's the declarant.
Way back in the olden days.
Yeah. On the first day, the declarant made the plat. And on the plat, there were these access lots that are intended for everyone in the community to be able to use. Even if there's not boat slips attached to it, there could be access lots just to get to the water, and there's a boat ramp or a boat launch. If there's an adjacent greenway to your neighborhood, there's often access lots that, let people cut through, maybe two houses to get to where you're going on the greenway or the park.
Yep.
But who's in charge of them?
That depends.
My favorite
words.
answer.
Famous words. So just piggybacking off of that. So a lot of these communities were developed, and per community in, county regulations, there's some portion of the land that's either not buildable or not, it won't fall into those, the red tape. And so a lot of developers, plat developers, the original owners just made them community access. That way that, they save that portion. It's usually can be like a small strip of land, or like you said, a greenway lot that just has community involvement, that either the HOAs now manage and own them, or which we love to see, or it is if it's a smaller community, then all of the owners of said lots own a percentage of interest to those access lots, which create a headache for title issues and things like that, especially when owners pass away and then all of their heirs then own that 1% interest of said access lot.
Or they convey it back and forth between each other, and nobody's keeping track of who. At one point, I looked at one of these where each owner got like a 4.7% percentage in the access lots, and they kept trying to convey it to each other such that there was now 180 something percent of the access lot owned.
Right.
If you were to believe the deeds that had been drafted. And then the other scenario is that the declarant hasn't turned it over, so they still have to maintain all of that.
Or their heirs.
Yes, or their heirs, yes. Oh, dear. That happens way more often than people are willing to, or way more often than people can realize.
Yes.
Now, there are times where, like, okay, the declarant owns the access lot. He sells it to somebody. He can do that.
Oh, yes.
Or she can do that. It doesn't change the character of the lot, though.
Yep. You can buy an access lot and you buy it for what it is, and that is an access lot. You won't be able to build on it. You won't be able to change anyone's right of access. You still have to manage and maintain paying those property tax bills for a little access lot that you now own, and with that ownership have access, but all the other community members still have access.
You know, I was talking to someone not that long ago about a scenario where the developer was trying to sell an access lot, and they were like, well, it's never been used. It was never used for that purpose. It was only meant to comply with the ordinances. Like, well, that's got it. And maybe that requirement doesn't exist anymore, but it's been designated as such.
Right.
You know, whether it was actually the people actually traversed on that lot to get to the lake or not, it is legally expressly for that purpose. And they're like, okay, well, how do we get rid of this? Again, it depends on your restrictions.
Yeah. What was the designation, and how do you facilitate either all of the HOA members have to agree upon it, or a certain percentage, or, you know, whoever is managing the HOA will then have to put it into a vote, or how that, I mean, it just depends on what that looks like with your rules and covenants or the original dedication from the developer. Yeah.
And it doesn't happen with a handshake. It has to be recorded in the public record, or it is effectively meaningless.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's benefits to these access lots. There were certainly legal requirements many of the times when they were created, especially in the 80s around the lake. That was a big thing, because as they wanted to make these communities attractive, like you said, they wanted people to be able to be on the water without owning a lakefront property. And they wanted a certain amount of the property to be undeveloped so as to basically allow for the beauty and enjoyment and all of that of the lake. But you hit on like the issues like taxes, you know, like
somebody's got to pay the taxes, and they're usually very minimal, but unless you want the county to then take the access lot by legal action, somebody has to pay the taxes.
Yeah. What are some of the other challenges you see or hear about with access lots like this?
So some owners want to build a pier or a dock onto it. They own that access lot, right? So they can just do whatever they want as long as, the members, everybody agrees, right? That's right. No. It depends.
Yeah.
So, making improvements on the access lots, building either, because, the communities, the original intent might change with the development of the community, and now it's a younger phase community. There's younger families. So, an issue with my neighborhood is it's been older folks, but now there's a lot of younger families, and we have several access community areas, but we don't have a playground. And so
your neighborhood is big.
Yeah. We don't have we have a pool.
Yeah.
And we
nice.
have like a couple different lake access areas, but there's no playground. There's open green areas.
Yeah.
And to put in said playground, all of our community members have to vote it in to change that status of the green area to a playground.
Yeah.
Do you think that we've been able to agree upon that?
Sounds like no.
No. So that's one of the challenges. If you want to ever change anything with that access lot, depending on what the rules and covenants are and who has to vote and how many people have to actually solidify that vote is one of the challenges.
Yeah. You mentioning playgrounds, we live next to our playground in our neighborhood, and having a 2.5-year-old is the best thing
Wouldn't
ever.
it be very nice to just walk out there and just go,
We just walk across our yard.
Yep.
It's great. And some people are like, well, isn't it noisy? No, our lot, thankfully, we're privileged to have a lot that's big enough that like the sound doesn't carry a ton. But also we knew exactly what we were getting into moving in next to the playground. And that was a big plus for us because
Right.
Kennedy is, in her age, she'll be using that playground for a decade.
Right.
And that's going to be awesome.
You're set for the next 10 years. And even into her teenage years, I'm sure she'll go over there and hang
Hopefully
out.
not get into trouble. I mean, she probably wouldn't get into trouble when we can see
You're
the
so
playground
close.
from every window. Hopefully we can teach her not to do that. Well, I think that's a great recap of like access lots. What are they used for? What are the issues that can pop up? It's one of those things when you're moving into a neighborhood, look and see. What do you have? Like, do you have the right to go down a path to get to a greenway next to someone's house and you didn't know it because you didn't look at the plat or you didn't look at the CC&Rs?
Yeah.
So, there's just some fun facts about access lots for you guys today. Thanks, Megan.
You're very welcome. Enjoyed it.